Hello and good afternoon. This is Dan Dimitriu from Detecon. We are guiding organizations through the digital frontier with innovative technologies like Web3 and AI and the metaverse. You are tuned into the edge of NFT, where we're making waves in the world of innovation. Keep listening.
Hey, Web3 curious listeners, stay tuned for today's episode to learn how distributed autonomy and AI are reshaping organizational structures in the digital age, and how the rise of KSA and UAE add Web3 powerhouses and their impact on global tech landscapes. And finally, why you should consider not bringing preconceived notions about someone into future conversations. All of this and more at the edge of Detecon. Cue the intro.
Welcome to The Edge of Show, your gateway to the Web3 revolution. We explore the cutting edge of blockchain, cryptocurrency, NFTs, ordinals, DeFi, gaming, and entertainment, plus how AI is reshaping our digital future. Join us as we bring you visionaries and disruptors pushing boundaries in this digital renaissance. This show is for the dreamers, disruptors, and doers that are pumped about where innovation meets culture. This is where the future begins.
Today's sponsored episode features Dan Dimitriu, a visionary managing consultant at Detecon in Abu Dhabi, where he guides governments and Fortune 500 companies on accelerating their objectives through emerging technologies like Web3 and the metaverse. As a Forbes 30 Under 30 honoree, Dan's expertise spans blockchain, digital banking, and fintech, making him a sought-after strategist across Europe, Asia, and the Middle East. Detecon is a leading management and technology consultancy and is at the forefront of digital innovation, helping organizations navigate the complex landscape of emerging technologies. Through Dan's role, the company continues to shape the future of industries by implementing blockchain, fostering startup ecosystems, and developing strategies that bridge the gap between traditional business models and the digital frontier. Dan, it's great to see you again, my friend.
Hello, Richard, and good afternoon for you. Happy
Yeah.
to do this podcast. I am here in Dubai. It's 1 a.m., but I'm very happy to be here and discuss a couple of, I hope, interesting things for your listeners.
No, you definitely will, and we appreciate you staying up late for us. And one of the first things that is super interesting, I love music, and you come from a
Great.
family of musicians as a cellist. How has your musical background influenced your approach to technology and consulting?
That's a very interesting question, and I can say that my musical background definitely has shaped the way I approach consultants. Picture this. I was a very young cellist. I was playing cello for stage performance. I was going to competitions. I won a lot of competitions, and I had to spend. It was almost like training for the Olympics. I had to spend anywhere between 8 to 12 hours every single day practicing. It was not just playing notes on a page. You had to immerse yourself in the intricacies of each, let's say, compositions or piece. Strive for perfection, basically with each bow stroke of the bow that you had to do. The practice was very repetitive, mentally exhausting at times. Very rare vacation, because even very short breaks would mean you would forget your muscle memory that you built painstakingly over time. But this rigorous discipline wasn't just about mastering, the instrument itself. You also had comprehensive education, outside, musical theory, composition, history, maybe other arts, so that you could, explain the emotional narratives of a piece. Because this is what makes the differences between good and bad players. Technique, everybody can have, but expressing these narratives and going very deep into this philosophical angle was very important. And then when I went into transitioned into consultancy at some point, I realized that the skills that I basically honed as a musician were very, very transferable. This was very interesting. So the dedication, to perfect these pieces of music somehow mirrored, the commitments to develop, business strategies, be there for the client, and so on. The analytical thinking, you needed to interpret, different complex pieces. Translated very well into how would you dissect, a certain strategy to solve intricate business problems. And just as a symphony, or when you play with the orchestra as a lead instrument, as a soloist, and just as it requires, each instrument and you to be in sync, with the whole piece flawlessly, Consultancy also demands, that every component basically is also linked to each other, So I learned, this way of pace.
Yeah.
And there is also maybe an interesting fact for the listeners. There are a lot of studies that say that, if as a young person, you receive musical training, it helps you develop certain areas in the brain that are associated with memory, attention, and executive function. Is very important. And of course, this most likely I benefited from this. But yeah, I would advise, if you have children, let them play music. I also have children, and I let them play music, and I can see the difference, especially if you compare to peers in the same age group.
Right. No, that's awesome. I would have never guessed you were putting in those kind of hours. 12 hours a day is definitely dedication. They say you need about 10,000 hours to become an expert in anything, and clearly you've put in those hours towards that. But not only, as you said, having the technical component, but the emotional piece too gives you a lot of perspective that you can then bring into now what you do
Exactly.
in the consulting
Yeah.
business you are. Also, like you said, having to work in symphonies, having to be a small piece of a much larger piece, how all that flows together too. A lot of synergies into the consultancy world. So
Correct.
it makes a ton of sense.
Correct. Yeah.
But, taking that background and then bring that into now what you're doing here in Web3 and AI, how is that reshaping of the concept of organizational hierarchy in the companies that you work with by using some of those skills?
So Web3, again, very interesting question. And, I've seen a lot. I worked for governments, big corporates all over the world, in almost all geographies. And I think there are many views on how AI and so on will affect, these organization hierarchies. But I think, in my opinion, this Web3 together with AI, or AI together with Web3, look at it as you want, will shape it by introducing unprecedented levels of autonomy and delegation of authority, at very low levels. And I think that, it will flip the current models of his head, on how, the hierarchy is built. Traditionally, companies, they have operated, in this top-down approach. And this technology will basically help flip this model on its head. Yeah. So to make it more concrete, so imagine you have an organization where decision making isn't bottlenecked by certain executives, but instead is distributed across different levels, and different teams are empowered with AI and blockchain to take their own decisions very fast. Yeah, this will create companies that are more agile, reduces micromanagement, and allows for almost real-time instant responses to market changes. And I know, we talk a lot about agility and so on and so forth, but what we have today, it's very far from basically being agile. Yeah, if banks or any other retailers and so on, they have to bring new business model to the markets. This takes anywhere 6 to 9 months at best. If you are lucky. So this, will help us with solve these issues, because in most of the cases, these long lead times to make something new are bottlenecked, by decision. Studies also show that. I think, this combination of AI with Web3, it will lead to flat organizational structure. I mean, real flat organizational structures where information flows faster and more freely. And it encourages a culture of innovation, because then everybody can contribute their ideas and drive change without waiting, for these bottlenecks that are artificial bottlenecks. Yeah, I can also give you a high-level example here on a small pilot project that I worked with a government-owned company, and we introduced some AI bots that borrowed the digital likeness of executives, to handle routine low-level meetings, and sync for approvals for straightforward operations, or mundane tasks or mundane decisions. Yeah, and everything was obviously secured by a Web3 layer to make sure who gives for what, that the information is secure, that if you give a certain decision, this is actually meant, and so on and so forth. And instead of an executives spending hours in this meeting, these AI agents, with predefined conditions, they take authoritative decisions based on certain parameters. And these AI bots basically will attend these meetings, make these low-level decisions based on their programming, and provide at the end of the day or during the day a very concise summary about what happened. Yeah, because most of us know that. Yeah, and I'm not saying something cheeky. Most of the meetings you can resume to a 2-3 line email in most of the cases. Yeah. What was the result? Each executive saved more than 4 hours a week. Yeah, again, this was just a pilot. And they could redirect this to more strategic initiatives, more creative tasks, more critical thinking tasks, making decisions. And some of them even took this time to sleep or rest. Yeah, which is amazing. You know, with the more rest, you can do actually more. Yeah. And this is a very practical application of AI on Web3 that not only streamlined operations, but also showcased in a way how to handle these routine task efficiencies and freeing humans, yeah, to what they do best. Because in my opinion, especially now when we have this AI that people think will replace, humans should innovate and lead, you know.
By freeing up the time, it does add for more innovation and for leadership to be able to do more. One of the challenges that a lot of organizations face, especially in remote culture, is a ton of meetings, especially internal ops. And what you'll find on some of these meetings is that you don't need everyone on the call to get the amount of information you need to move forward and keep things going. And so it's interesting. The example that you brought up, we've been implementing a tool that kind of does similar, where we get some of the synopsis of what happened, and it's actually helped our productivity as well. So like, it's a really great use case that you brought up. But one of the things I want to dive into a little bit more is that, like, you know, through your experiences, you've come in and helped to uh, automate and make companies more efficient. But like, what are some of the biggest challenges that you see companies facing when they're implementing a distributed autonomy system?
Excellent question. Yeah. So implementing this kind of technologies is both, I would even call it, you know, accelerating. It's amazing. You know, you work at the frontier of human knowledge, but it's also very complex. Yeah? You are more or less, you know, at the forefront of a technological renaissance, and at the same time, while being at this, you know, border, you're also navigating some sort of a labyrinth of human and technical challenges. This human element is very interesting. Yeah. As a consultant, you know, and general consultants, you know, you can make lists of challenges. Yeah, there are a lot of things that can go wrong, but I think most of them basically boil down to two main challenges. I want to talk a little bit about them. Think of them like first order principles. So because of these two items, you have all other challenges, you know, that come after. Yeah. So first of all, if you want to build a system like in the question that we discussed before, companies need to foster or have an understanding of how delegation actually works in a technical sense. Yeah. So delegation of authority is a well-established concept in most traditional organizations. However, when it comes to delegating tasks to an AI or a piece of code, especially when Web3 or blockchain is included, and you need to include that, you know, for the security, documentation of the system, immutability, and so on, it introduces a paradigm shift that is not easily grasped by most people. Yeah, so it's very hard to understand AI. It's very hard to understand Web3. Put them together, and nobody understands. Yeah, and employees, manager, clients, and so on often struggle with questions like, okay, what does it truly mean to delegate to an AI? What does it really mean to delegate to a smart contract? How do we ensure this autonomous system, they align, you know, with what we want to do, organizational goal, ethical standards, and so on and so forth. So all these questions, yeah. And at a very basic level, yeah, in the Web3 ecosystem, if you look at it, smart contracts, I know it sounds smart and pompous and so on, but it's just executable code, you know, that execute auction automatically to something called Oracle. So they look if certain things in real life happen, and then, you know, they have some if this then that type of logic, and then they execute if certain things happen without the need of any human intervention. Yeah. And this usually requires a very deep understanding of how code-based delegation works. And there is a curve in understanding and appreciating how this technology actually can enhance efficiency, transparency, if they're properly programmed, you know, and governed, you know, by this code. So this is why we need AI and Web3, you know, to make sure they both work together. You know? And maybe you have also heard there was this challenge a couple of days back on the internet where people could send money, you know, to an AI, and if they could convince the AI to give them the money, then they would win the whole money pot.
Right.
And people tried to give it, and somebody hacked it. Yeah. So see, this is just the AI part. So the AI part you can still somehow, but if you have, you know, this Web3 component, then obviously it becomes more secure, more complex, and you know it will block certain tasks. Yeah, because the web. This is why you have the Web3 system there. With the web system, I assume this wouldn't have actually happened. Maybe this might be an interesting topic for discussion. Yeah. And to address this, in the first place, we need to, our clients, how we make them understand was first, we mapped out the delegation process in their company. By the way, most of the companies, although they have it mapped, most of the time, they don't really understand it fully end to end. We defined very clear parameters and conditions under which the AI and blockchain, systems operate. And we ensured and try to explain, that the technology actually, operates with the intended boundaries and aligns with the organizational objectives. Yeah, because translating something into code, it's actually very easy once you explain it. Yeah. The second point is trust in the technology. Yeah, people don't trust the technology. Yeah, there is often skepticism rooted in misconceptions, especially around the blockchain part. So AI, okay, they give you these examples like I just they give you sometimes. But when people hear about Web3, about blockchain, they get on fire. Yeah, they say, oh, it's vulnerable to hacking, it's scammy, it's cryptocurrencies. You know all the thing. Yeah, you have been in the domain.
Yeah,
And
it's long enough.
here, so here is crucially to understand, that these incidents are not due to flaws in the technology itself, because the technology works as intended, but stem from vulnerabilities in third-party application, poor security practices, or social engineering attacks, 100% of the time. Blockchain by design offers robust security features, such as immutability, decentralization, and so on and so forth, to counteract, all these possible, let's say, in a sense, technical hacks. And to overcome this skepticism, I developed like a mantra, seeing is believing, where basically we go and show people how things work. Take the example that we just discussed. You take it as a use case, you get interview people, deploy it quickly with the company, and show, okay, actually it works. In another way, in another small project, we showed people very quickly what does it mean to have a transparent supply chain. There was a company, and it was very interesting. They discovered that much of the fresh produce that they would guarantee 24 hours after introducing blockchain, they actually discovered it was much older than 24 hours. It couldn't be guaranteed. Or in another way, we introduced like an AI chatbot, with Web3, again as a test, to free up resources, and then they could see, we actually have more time, and this makes sense. So in a nutshell, if somebody listens to this podcast too, and is interested in how to actually solve this issue, obviously you have to do education and awareness, transparent communication, meaning you explain literally how everything works. Gradual implementation is very important, because if you come with too many things, with too many cool stuff, because you are excited, that people should do, they cannot transform fast. So you need to piecemeal it basically for
Right.
everybody. Collaborative approach, which means taking also the ideas and putting them in sites where they are good or bad. They'll figure it out by themselves, but they will have this feeling, okay, I contributed to something and I see how it works for me. And this engages them, in the learning journey. Obviously, robust security measures. So these 4 or 5 things, if you look at those, you can manage, these two challenges, the biggest two challenges. If you manage these two challenges, the rest is very easy to be done. Technical challenges and so on. Once you manage these two things, because people will be willing to put in the effort to actually move towards the common and now probably shared goal. And in essence, I believe, and this is also what I tell most of the people, and it's a little bit hard to to believe, not in that situation, that some of the biggest challenges, they are not technical, they are deeply human. And bridging this gap between innovative technology and people who using, and by fostering a thorough understanding, in this case of delegation, how AI works and so on, and building trust through transparency, demonstration of value, you can navigate, all these challenges, I think, more successful.
Yeah, I think so as well. So just to kind of distill a lot of that, the first steps that you were kind of taking were to educate and inform around some of the reasons why people don't necessarily are shy away from Web3. And a lot of people think it has to do with security, but it actually has to do with a lot of other facets before you can even get to that point. But another area that I want to spend more time on, which has been really cool to me, is just to see this emergence of these companies wanting to be more involved in Web3, and that convergence of really starting to dial in on bringing these elements into their businesses out in the UAE. So I want to just talk about that a little bit more, since you are, based out there and doing a lot of stuff in the region. How do you see the KSA and the UAE's focus on Web3 impacting a global influence beyond just the tech sector?
So again, this is a very interesting question. I will try very, very briefly to answer because it's actually a very big topic. Yeah. So if you look at the KSA, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and UAE, United Arab Emirates, they leverage Web3 technologies, in my opinion, not only to advance technology itself, so this is a part of it, but also to somehow underscore or refine, their positions on a global stage, yeah? Especially when you combine it with AI. So you can see, both of the countries, they want to take some of the leadership both in AI and in Web3. Yeah. Just starting briefly with the UAE, they've taken a pioneering role, by establishing the first regulatory authority for Web3 DLT blockchain related thing called VARA, Virtual Assets Regulatory Authority. And in my opinion, the secret sauce here is that it's just not merely a bureaucratic, move. Yeah, besides being the first one in the world, it's also in strategic integration of Web3 into the nation's vision of becoming a digital powerhouse. Yeah. And what's interesting here is that they align the regulatory framework with the nation's strategic goals, more or less, to ensure, that these technological advancements in Web3 go hand in hand with economic and social development. This is amazing. So, and based on the information that I have now, this is also first in the world. Yeah, I don't know when you saw a ministry or any regulatory authority telling you, "Oh, this is how we contribute to the nation's vision." Most of the time, especially regulatory authorities, they are there to tax. Yeah, look, for example, Europe or the US. Yeah, you are afraid of them. Yeah. Another thing that they have in the UAE, and I think it's very, very interesting, they have a think of UAE, if you look from Web3 perspective, somehow like, to some extent, like a Web3 sandbox. They have a jurisdiction in Ras Al Khaimah where, for example, you want to open a business in Web3, but you don't know whether it's regulated or not. And we know you do something with cryptocurrency and so on, you need to fall under certain regulation. They basically tell you, "Oh, come here, stay in this sandbox a couple of months, and we'll decide, do we need to create regulation? Do we need to alter regulation? Or we just decide you fall under regulation, or we just decide, okay, it doesn't work." I mean, this is amazing. Yeah, you can start attracting people, investments, and create traction all over the world just by this very simple thing. And they did this not only with Web3, but also in other areas. This is why they're so successful. So again, it's an amazing model. Imagine I'm coming from Europe, wanting to do a cryptocurrency business in Europe. Oh my God, you need to think about so many things. Yeah, you cannot open it. If you open it, you are somehow in a gray zone. Then they come and shut you down because there is no reason. And so you can see all this drama online, something happening and unfolding because you just don't know. And then it takes them years to regulate. And when they finally regulate, they regulate, to a very conservative, to protect the users too much, to protect the users too much. Yeah. So similarly, the KSA is also making significant strides to integrate Web3 into the development plans in the the investment in Animoca brands, the Outrage conference, in Riyadh, which is a landmark event, and investments in blockchain and infrastructure at the same time and AI are fostering, in my opinion, international partnerships, investments. Are key components of somehow their strategy to enhance global influence, in this technical area. Yeah, and if they manage to establish themselves, as leader in those niche technical areas, then you can say that these initiatives basically extend far beyond the tech sector, in my opinion. Yeah, if you are a leader here, you are attracting foreign investment, you are diversifying your economy, and basically indirectly increasing your soft power at an international stage. Yeah? And I think there is three critical lessons that nations, especially in Europe, because Europe tends to overregulate this thing, they can learn. Yeah? And I think the first one would be that technological policies should be interwoven, with the national development strategies to ensure, there is cohesion and you understand where you want to progress towards. Yeah. Countries should set up, proactive and clear regulatory frameworks that actually encourage and do not strive for innovation. See the UAE, with their sandbox. And last but not least, they should offer the tools and the framework for a thriving environment where businesses can safely test and implement new technologies. This is how basically you build an ecosystem. Yeah, this is an ecosystem play, more or less. Yeah, and I think if you look at the KSA and UAE, you can and you read about it. They have a blueprint on how to do that and possibly amplify your global influence beyond your borders.
I love it all. Like a year ago, I went to Abu Dhabi Finance Week and had a great experience. First time in the UAE, but seeing how the the ability to go and speak with government entities around, hey, this is what my business is. Here's what I'm trying to do. How can I go about this? And be able to talk to the decision makers, like, hey, how does this work? Doing all that was so powerful. And then, through what we did in KSA at Outer Edge Riyadh, being able to talk to all the different government entities there that are very open and wanting people to come and innovate and be part of that. It's really cool to see firsthand, but you're at the forefront of it and you get to see it all the time. So, I guess, like, what are some of the unique challenges that you're seeing the countries face in becoming more of a Web3 powerhouse? And then, with you being at the forefront of, like, both Fortune 500 companies and working with government entities, what is Dedecon's approach to, like, working between the two?
So I'll start first with the challenge. Yeah. Again, I would say there are many challenges. People view it from different things, but in my opinion, the biggest challenge that I feel or I see, yeah, it's how to face this gap that is created between traditional industries and emerging technologies. Yeah. And a very good example of that, you can find it in the UAE with DMCC Dubai, I think Multi-Commodity Center. Yeah. So this is a free zone in Dubai, and they have also an accelerator. And they are focused around global commodities like gold and precious metals. Yeah. And somehow they managed to integrate, these commodities into this new Web3 flow. Yeah. And how do they do that? For example, they let companies, tokenize the gold that is there and is backed by the government, by the MCC. Yeah. And they can create gold-backed assets, and they can tokenize it. They can do whatever they want within this framework. Yeah. And you take, an old industry and catapult it, in the future, through these apps, financial products that you can build derivatives and, God knows what, so you can go very crazy. Yeah. But you also have the advantage that if you control this in the right way, you can actually fine tune your regulation based on what companies are doing. Yeah. So it's another, let's say, hidden benefit that you have in this case. They also open, the DMCC Crypto Center, and this regulates somehow how these things can be exchanged, what they can do there. And they also have a lot of partnerships and collaboration, with blockchain platforms, other firms, and partners, to create, this Web3 opportunity. And last but not least, of course, what I said, you have this advantage, that you can constantly improve and fine-tune, your global, your regulatory support, and not only but regulatory support, but also the infrastructure. Yeah. And what is the impact on the Web3 ecosystem and the traditional things? So this is a very good way to basically bridge the gap between these two industries. People dealing with commodities and people dealing with Web3 are two worlds that couldn't be further apart. Yeah. So to some extent, it creates trust and stability, especially if you have an entity, bridging this thing in the middle, because you have somehow gold back, digital assets. People see that it works, it's something that they understand, and you convert some people, from non-believers basically to believers, from one end on the others, and encourages more users and investors to participate in these products. Hence, they participate in Web3, and without knowing, you actually are part of Web3. I think it also acts as what you would call innovation catalyst, because you tokenize, these commodities, and by tokenizing them, you have a lot of new opportunities, for financial products, services, DeFi, and so on and so forth, which you can blast to a wider audience. And then last but not least, I think, the merger, between old and traditional, if you do it right and if you moderate it right, it can create this ecosystem of growth that we talked, before, where you can attract talent, investment, and this is actually how you foster basically a culture of innovation. Yeah. And based out of this innovation and see how people interact and so on, again, this is the thing that helps you actually fine tune your regulation. Yeah. And with this, if you do something like that, yeah, this is a very interesting and a new model I saw. I didn't see it anywhere else to this extent. Basically, you are addressing 3-4 challenges, in one go. Yeah. So you bridge the traditional and digital economies, as we explained with all these products, and so on and so forth. You ensure that the people that you bring on automatically are compliant with certain regulation, because otherwise they cannot build these products and be in compliance and do their businesses. And also you are driving marketplace adoption. Yeah? So we're looking at these 3 things. This is what it actually means to bridge the gap between what I said before, that is a challenge, between a traditional industry and this new industry. Very, very nice and beautifully.
Yeah, I think those are all really good practical steps on, what can be done to start getting a lot of these companies and government entities ready to take on and fully embrace Web3 in a way that can get everyone moving in the right direction together. Again, I know this is a focus for you, and I think something that could be just interesting to hear your take on. Obviously, you do a lot of work with governments and Fortune 500 companies. But if you could implement like one emerging technology globally overnight, that would help amplify both of those subsects, right? The government and Fortune 500 companies. What would it be and why?
This is a very good question. Maybe I wouldn't implement one. I would do a combination. Yeah.
Okay.
So if I had this power, yeah, it would be like a fusion between access to clean renewable energy and deployment of quantum computing, hands down. Yeah. So imagine that every corner of the world is powered, by sustainable energy, and it removes one of the biggest barriers that we currently have with development and innovation all over the world. Yeah. So now overlay this, let's say clean, unlimited energy with quantum computing, a leap in computational power that can take us very far into the future. Yeah, so can solve very complex problems in seconds that would take a normal or conventional, AI or very smart computer today millennia. Yeah, so combining these 2 things, I think will catapult humanity into a new era of possibility, and we could unlock breakthroughs in fields like medicine. Yeah, by rapidly modeling, these very complex proteins to cure diseases or optimize global, logistics to reduce, energy waste, and so on and so forth. So you see how these 2 things will catapult into the next era of possibility. We don't even know what lies beyond this frontier. Yeah, so always working the frontier makes it even more exciting to push that frontier forward than it is. Yeah, and by democratizing, access to limitless energy and unparalleled computing power, we can level, the playing field, I think, for innovation worldwide. We can work together, as a unity, as a globe. And it's not just about technological advancement, it's also about actually unleashing the full human potential at the global scale. And this can spark and could lead to solutions for challenges that we don't even imagine, space travel and so on and so forth. So this is a dream that I have. I know it's very far from being realistic, but if I could do that and I would have a magical one and do it, this is what I would do.
Yeah, no, I like it. It would help serve and help the world in a lot of ways, but it also make things highly efficient. And like you said, as we move to more highly efficient models, it gives people back more time. So like, do we need to work 5-day work weeks, or can we go down to 4 or 3 because we've truly optimized everything and give people a little bit more holiday and have a higher quality of life and so many other components of it. So I think it's a really cool thought exercise. And Dan, I think you've shared a lot of really awesome thoughts with us today, but I'm excited to learn a little bit more about you. So we're actually getting ready to break into our next segment, which is the Edge Quick Hitters.
Let's take a pause to shout out one of our favorite partners. For tech innovators facing legal challenges, Zuba Lawler is your go-to law firm. They focus on understanding your technology and business model before addressing legal requirements. Specializing in blockchain, AI, VR, AR, quantum computing, and more, Zuba Lawler offers expert guidance in capital raising, IP transactions, M&A, litigation, and compliance. Visit zuberlawer.com, that's ZUBERLAWLER.com, for cutting-edge legal solutions.
Edge Quick Hitters are a fun and quick way to get to know you a little better. There are 10 questions, and we're looking for just a short, single, or few word response. But feel free to expand if you get the urge. Are you ready?
Sure. Yeah.
All right. What is the first thing you remember purchasing in your life?
It's called in Romania, it's called the Eugenia. It's a very communist type of biscuit. My parents gave me money, and I was trembling while giving the money because I wasn't sure. I was 4 or 5 years old at a mountain resort. And it tasted awfully. I actually wanted to buy something else, but I didn't have the courage because I thought the worker might know that my parents gave me the money to buy exactly that thing.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
felt
You,
awful.
you remember it so vividly.
Yeah.
That's so cool. So what about on the flip side of that, right? What is the first thing you remember selling?
I unfortunately am not somebody that sells. I build emotional attachment to actually many things. The first thing that I actually sold was my furniture when I was moving for university. It was a very big thing where I had my underwear, and then I regretted it because we moved in another space where I actually had space to keep that that big thing. And yes, I had to buy a new one.
Yeah. Yeah, when I was in uni, I ended up before I had it left, I sold a bunch of my stuff too, so completely understand that. It's a great time. What is the most recent thing you've purchased?
Most recent thing, Black Friday. Yeah, so I bought so many things, but one of the coolest things, I bought this Black Friday is my first air purifier. I'm very proud of that.
Yes.
I actually had it work today, so it basically counts as the last purchase. It massively improves, your energy and everything. Actually, the air I didn't even realize in my apartment is actually much worse than I thought. Of course, you live in the desert, you have always AC on, and so on. God knows, what is there.
Right.
And since putting it, I feel awake. So now I feel awake. It's almost 2 o'clock here, 2 a.m. in the morning. I think this helped quite a lot.
Oh, it does for sure. I didn't believe in its power. So my wife got us a really nice one for our room, and sleep's improved, getting sick way less. Like it's crazy how
There
well.
you go.
Yeah.
There you go. I also had this cough, that you heard, and after I put this air purifier on, it dropped by 90%.
Yeah.
So would recommend it.
Yeah, it's definitely a good purchase. What's one of the most recent things you've sold?
Cryptocurrency. You have this somehow bull run. It was XRP. I was betting big on XRP. 5 years XRP Reaper actually betrayed me. Yeah, I was holding high hope, and now starting selling little by little because it goes up.
Yeah. Yeah, XRP is having a late surge at the time of this recording in early December of 2024. So we'll see what ultimately ends up with that, but that makes sense. What would you consider your most prized possession?
The most prized possession. Look, there are many things that I consider, at different levels. But the most pricing, I would say, is, the relationship I have. The relationship I have with my family, the relationship I have with friends, and what we can do together, what we talked about, what we can talk about, and what I can generate, through these genuine connections that I have, and how I can improve them and bring them to the next level. So I don't know if this counts as a thing that you have. It's totally material, but I think this is what moves me every single day. This circle and these relationships.
Yeah, I like the way you said it. Relationships, they really do make a huge difference and bring a lot of power and fulfillment to what you do. So that's a great answer. If you could buy anything in the world, digital, physical, service, experience, etc., that is currently for sale and money is not a problem, what would it be?
I think I wouldn't buy something expensive, but it's something that we also have. I would buy time. Yeah. I am I like this concept very much about learning and having the time to do so. And I know it's very hard sometimes to invest in relationships, learn things, and do cool stuff. And when again we are working on this edge of frontier of this digital renaissance, time is of essence. If I could buy anything, 100% it would be time. 100% would be time. Yeah. And I have this idea. I don't know if you read Faust by Goethe, a German writer, and there is this guy that wants to know how the world, what's in his most fundamental parts. And again, it's a question about time. You need time to go and understand these things and so on and so forth. He makes a bargain with the devil, to get a shortcut into this. Yeah. And then it ends up well for him. So I'll not spoil the ending. But 100% it would be time. If money and everything would be no problem, it is time. Yeah, because this can give you all other things that you
Yeah.
want.
No, time is a powerful answer. Actually, that's the first I've heard on the show, so that's a good one. And share the sentiment. Definitely get as much as you can. If you could pass on one of your personality traits to the next generation, what would it be?
That's an interesting question. And actually, I try to teach this everybody in my team. Whenever you do or start something, start with zero preconceptions. And I know I'm saying this, it's very easy to do, but it's extremely hard to implement. You meet somebody, you are thinking the way he's dressed, the way his hair hit, how he talks, his accent. And then you begin to think, oh, this from there, this means this, because your brain tries to build this shortcut. And actually, it takes a lot of brain power to have no preconception. If there would be anything I could give to the next generation, it would be saying, go inside without preconceptions about doing anything and make your own ideas and your own thing. And then let your brain, sentiments, the heart, and so on and so forth, basically go inside. This has helped me tremendously and change. You cannot understand how powerful this is if you do this like this consciously every single day. And then at some point it will become second nature. And it's amazing how much you can learn and see things that you usually don't see because your preconception make you blind and make you lose your hear, your smell, and so on and so forth, just because you have a preconception. This is how powerful your brain is.
Oh, 100%. That's another first. I don't think I've never heard that one on the show, and I like that a lot. And I think it is something that more people need to do. I know it's definitely something. I'm sure it's something that happens internationally, but definitely out here in the West, that preconceived notions can come into play before you even get to know someone. So I think that is a very great reminder for everyone listening right now. On the flip side, if you could eliminate one of your personality traits for the next generation, what would it be?
Not going on an adventure, not wanting to take risks. Yeah. Because of my being raised in communism and so on, after the fall of communism, sorry, when the country was changing in Romania and so on, I'm very cautious. I was raised to be extremely, extremely cautious, and I'm very, very cautious. And what I would delete and not give, don't be cautious. Go, experiment. And this goes hand in hand, with having an open mind. Just go, be open for all the possible experience. Of course, with certain boundaries. You need to have your boundaries. That's an interesting discussion about boundaries and being open. But generally, go for wild things, experiment, because as I said before, time passes. And this is what actually makes who you are today, these big leaps, looking back. So go out there, be wild, experiment, come back and go through the drawing board and see if you need to adjust something.
Yeah, I think that's a great one. Taking a little bit more risk. So appreciate you sharing that. For our next question, what did you do just before joining us on the podcast?
Actually, I slept because it was late here. So I wanted to get in a little bit of sleep. But because of this air machine I told you about, I actually couldn't sleep. I felt very, very fresh. So I came back and I started, researching a couple of ideas. And, if today, they announce some new news or some new things, because, with Web3 and AI here in the region, literally every half a day, there is something new happening. So I researched and looked into that, to make sure I'm up to date.
Great. And I'm guessing what you're going to be doing right after is probably going to sleep.
Most likely I'll go to sleep. So I will finish my Coke, because I like to drink Coke. I have here, to just keep me a little bit awake. And then I'll go back to sleep after that.
Yeah, get you some rest.
Yeah.
Well, we always like to finish with a nice bonus question. And being a world-class celloist, if you were going to give a performance right now, what song would you perform? And why?
I would perform the cello concert written by Dvorak. He wrote one famous cello concert. And why? Because it's I loved it very much. Yeah, when I played that piece, it's a very powerful piece. Yeah, it requires big orchestra. You need to project yourself. And every time I played that, I felt like something was coming out of me and it was becoming bigger. And this whole world, that you encompass the world. This is the feeling you have. And this whole world will become like a small house where all the people live together, exchange ideas, and everything is fine. It's an amazing feeling. Yeah, I don't know how to describe it. It sounds, like you are drugs or anything. You're not at all. You just need to project yourself, out of your human confines. Yeah. So this is what, while I'm also working on the edge, of technology and of knowledge, to just come out of this. I don't know how to say. Your body has, shackles. I don't know how to say. You need to sleep, you need to eat, and so on. And in your endeavor to become better and better and better, like this Faust guy I was talking about previously, you somehow need to come out of this thing. And while playing this piece, I felt how how I was just truly coming out and being at peace. Yeah. So
it's almost like your body's transcending itself and really getting to be its fullest self.
Yeah. And this is what gave you power in the interpretation. Yeah. What made the interpretation so valuable. And this is why, when you listen to such people, you feel mesmerized, because it's, it transcends, this, let's say, this human practice, to some extent.
Yeah. No, that is awesome. Well, definitely appreciate that. And also giving a little bit of homework for all those who've never heard that piece to go check that out. So definitely.
Yeah, it's the cello concert in B minor. Yeah. And it's very powerful. I just listen to it, my skin begins to actually, you get this chicken skin.
Get goosebumps.
Yeah, goosebumps, exactly. There you go. You get the goosebumps. This is how powerful this piece, and you can also feel how the Dvorak actually poured his heart in. You feel like your heart burns when you play that thing, or listen to it and actually understand it. This is just in a nutshell. Yeah? You can do a complete analysis, and it's very interesting.
No, that's awesome. You can definitely hear the passion in it. So we appreciate you sharing all of that. As we wrap up here, we always like to give a quick moment for our shout out segment. So this is your moment to shout out whomever you want, whether this is people on your team, people in the background, companies you work with, etc. Just people that don't always get their flowers. This is your chance to give it to them. So who would you like to shout out today?
First shout out goes to my team, that we do amazing team. They know who they are. Actually, there are too many to name them out here. And then the next shout out, is the people I'm currently working with. They are amazing people. Yeah, you probably met them. As part of Outrage. They work for Neom. Knife and Liat, amazing people, amazing guys,
Incredible.
Visionary. So yeah, this would be the shakers and movers, in this Web3 domain. I think here in the Middle East in the future. I don't think I'm actually sure. Yeah. So this, let's say these two people, these two groups of people, they are amazing, and we did a lot of beautiful things. And of course, last but not least, my family, wife, and so on, that understand, my crazy lifestyle in pursuing, all this challenging and always trying to push this, digital renaissance frontier one step at a time further.
Absolutely. Well, I'm sure all those groups are going to appreciate that shout out. For everyone who's listening to this and they want to go and learn more about you and Detecon, where can they go?
They can go on our website or on my LinkedIn. Yeah, I am very happy to connect with everybody, answer their questions, help with any issues that they want. And I'm very open, approachable, and I will definitely take time, to listen to you and try to find a solution together. Yeah, it's very exciting to solve new challenges.
We've reached the outer limit at the edge of show for today. Thanks for exploring with us. We have room for more adventurers on our starship, so invite your friends and cool strangers to join our journey. If you're among the hundreds of thousands following us on Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, or watching us on Myco or YouTube, please hit that subscribe button, rate us, and make an awesome comment too. And don't forget to pass this episode along to a friend or two who would benefit from it. Doubling back to again, recommend checking out myco.io, where you can watch The Edge of Show and earn for your time and attention. That's myco.io. Don't forget to visit theedgeofshow.com. The is part of the domain name, where you can learn more about collaborating with us and also subscribe to the Edge of Weekly newsletter for the latest Web3 news, events, and show drops. In addition, connect with us on all major social platforms by searching for The Edge of Show. Join the exciting conversations happening online. Lastly, be sure to tune in next time for more great Web3 and AI content. Until then, keep pushing the boundaries. Thanks again for hanging out with us today. The views and opinions expressed on The Edge of Show reflect solely those views and opinions of the show host and its guests. Please make sure to do your own research. Our show is not financial advice. You understand that you are using any and all information on or through this podcast at your own risk. Whenever making financial decisions, we recommend doing your own research and talking to your accountant for financial advice. From time to time, we may feature sponsored content on the show for which we receive value, and we may share links for which we receive a commission if you make a purchase through one of these links. Refer to our website, www.edgeofnft.com, for our full disclaimer, terms and conditions, and privacy policy.